In the world of Chainsaw Man, the title character isn't always a terrifying half-man, half-devil. Whenever he's not fighting, he's a ruthless yet vulnerable teenager named Denji. But why does Denji do the things he does? And how powerful is he exactly? Well, the answers here can get pretty complicated. Today, we're gonna do a deep dive into Denji. We'll be analyzing his personality, powers, and motives, taken both from the beginning all the way to the most recent episodes. So, needless to say, spoilers ahead. You've been warned. Let's begin with Denji's backstory. At the start of the series, Denji's father dies while still in debt with the local Yakuza, thus unwillingly inheriting his father's debt. When all seems lost, he finds a wounded Chainsaw Devil. Right then, Denji makes a deal with it. He allows the devil to drink his blood in order to survive, and in exchange, the Chainsaw Devil will help Denji collect the money he owes. Denji named the Chainsaw Devil Pachita, and from there he treats him like a pet, but also as his only real friend. Thanks to having Pachita with him, Denji is able to work as a civilian devil hunter. He kills weak devils and gives their bodies over to the Yakuza to sell on the black market. But eventually, the Yakuza boss gets tired of Denji and decides to make a contract with the devil on his own. But the boss makes a fatal mistake, contracting the zombie devil, which turns him and the rest of his group into zombies. The zombie devil commands the Yakuza to kill Denji since he's a devil hunter. Both Denji and Pachita are overwhelmed and fatally wounded, but as they lie there dying, Pachita decides to make another deal with Denji. Pachita merges with Denji's heart, which heals his injuries and gives him his powers. And in exchange, Pachita gets to watch Denji's dreams. From that point onward, Denji isn't human anymore. He becomes Chainsaw Man. Whenever the cord on Denji's chest is pulled, he transforms into Chainsaw Man. This causes enormous chainsaws to come out of each arm as well as his head. The rest of his head takes on a demonic and mechanical appearance which disguises his true identity when he fights. Despite how powerful he is in this form, the chainsaws also drain Denji of his blood, which can weaken him. Like all devils, Denji needs to drink blood in order to get stronger. If he loses too much blood, he can't use his powers. But no matter what, Denji can't actually die thanks to being a rare devil-human hybrid. There are also some abilities Denji has that we learn about much later in the manga. We'll go over that in detail a little bit later. For now, we're gonna break down one of Denji's fights just to see exactly what he can do. We think a fairly early fight that shows Denji's abilities the best, his battle against the Eternity Devil. It's a perfect showcase of Denji's brutality and ingenuity. The Eternity Devil is what Denji's public safety division has been sent after, but they quickly get in over their heads when the Eternity Devil traps them inside a hotel and corners them. It's a giant mass of flesh and can only be killed if you reach its heart. And considering the size of the Eternity Devil, that's a difficult feat. At first, the Eternity Devil tries to force the Devil Hunters into a contract. He says he'll only let them leave if they kill Denji for him. Denji obviously has other plans. He decides the best way to fight off the Eternity Devil is by brute force. His plan is to attack the enemy until it either gives up or he reaches its heart. So he turns himself into Chainsaw Man form and jumps right into the fight. Things don't look so good at first though. Denji loses a lot of blood, but he comes up with a solution. If he keeps drinking the Eternity Devil's blood, it'll heal him and he won't run out of energy. Denji calls it a perpetual motion machine, which in a way is what he created. So he ends up in an endless process of slashing at the Eternity Devil and drinking his blood. He keeps this up for 3 whole days while his partners kinda just watch. The Eternity Devil finally has enough torment and lets Denji reach his heart, begging for death. Even though his opponent was much stronger, this shows that Denji was able to think on the fly and take down the Eternity Devil. But let's take a pause on Denji's strength for now. We're gonna take a moment to talk about his personality, motives, and relationships with the other main characters. Denji's core motivations are all basic things: food, shelter, and women. You could say he's a bit selfish, but at the same time, that selfishness isn't unlikable. Denji comes from a bad situation, so you want to see him succeed. Also because of how he grew up. Denji never really got an education, so Denji isn't the smartest. In fact, he can barely read. Of course, what he lacks in book smarts, he makes up for knowing how to survive. Another interesting thing about Denji is that due to being half-devil, he has trouble processing his emotions. When someone he likes dies, he's not sure how to feel about it. It's not like he's totally heartless, he just has trouble knowing what he's supposed to feel. He gets better at being more emotionally open as the series goes on. The three people most connected to Denji are Makima, Aki, and Power. Let's go over all three of them. The first of them that Denji meets is Makima. She's the first person in a long time to show kindness to him, so Denji immediately becomes fond of her. Even if he was more or less forced to join public safety because of her, he relies on Makima for pretty much everything in his new life, seeing that she's his new boss. Denji also falls in love with Makima early on in the story, and after Makima tells Denji she'll grant him any request as long as he kills the gun devil, he immediately accepts the offer. Denji will basically do anything for Makima. With Aki though, the two of them got off on the wrong foot. Aki's serious personality immediately clashed with Denji's more laid-back attitude. The perfect example of their differences is once again found in the Eternity Devil arc, where they end up in this endless loop on the 8th floor of the hotel we mentioned before. While Aki is intensely focused on an escape, Denji takes advantage of this situation and decides to take a nap in one of the hotel beds. Power has a bit more in common with Denji, but they still don't see quite eye to eye. Denji ironically finds her loud, abrasive personality annoying. That said, at first Denji did find Power attractive on a physical level, but after getting to know her better, he realizes she just isn't his type. It takes a while for them to warm up to each other. Eventually they form an odd friendship. Women are probably Denji's biggest weakness. For as tough as he is in the Chainsaw Man form, he's still just a teenager prone to making stupid decisions. For example, in the Bat Devil arc, Denji agreed to help Power find her lost pet, but Power betrayed him and intended to sacrifice him to the Bat Devil. But of course, Power immediately regretted doing that and remained an ally. But it just goes to show Denji's poor sense of judgment. This bad judgment of his gets him into a lot of trouble in several later arcs, once again usually by immediately trusting attractive women. Denji has a big secret connected to his chainsaw side, and this is where we're about to get into some big spoilers about the end of Chainsaw Man's first half, so consider this your final warning. Still with us? Okay, here we go. Before Pachita met Denji, he was actually a very powerful devil back in hell, feared by all other devils. We don't know exactly how he went from a horrifying chainsaw monster to an adorable little chainsaw dog, but presumably that'll be answered later in the manga. Back then, Pachita was known as the hero of hell. Not only did he kill many devils in hell, but any devil that he actually ate was erased from history. Pachita did this to several powerful devils, which changed the course of world history. For example, he ate the nuclear weapons devil, and now nukes no longer exist. Yeah, that's right. Since Denji merged with the Chainsaw Devil, that means he can erase things from existence. Not only does that make him insanely powerful, but that also makes him a huge target, since whoever controls the Chainsaw Man can more or less decide what the world will be like. It's a little ironic that such a powerful ability would end up in the hands of someone like Denji. He's a simple guy who just wants a good life for himself, but has had an incredible power thrust into him. In a certain way, Denji has a lot in common with Spider-Man. A down-on-his-luck teenager who experienced tragedy, was given an amazing power, and now chooses to be a hero. He even later learns an ability similar to Spider-Man's web shooters. Denji can shoot chains from his arms to use as a weapon. His mindset might be a tad different from Spider-Man. The second half of the manga has made the comparison even stronger so far. We see that the Chainsaw Man is now a public figure with a large following of fans, but at the same time, some critics too. And recent chapters have put great emphasis on Denji having a secret identity. Of course, Denji doesn't always go for Spider-Man's "with great power comes great responsibility" motto. Sure, he does try his best to save people and kill devils, but his fights tend to cause a lot of collateral damage. Plus, Denji himself has admitted that he wants to use his status as a hero to go on dates, so that part of Denji still hasn't changed. The newer chapters also give us an idea how strong Denji has gotten since the beginning. At the start of the series, the Bat Devil was enough to be the main antagonist of an arc, but now Denji can kill both it and a second devil easily. Speaking of the latest chapters, it's still in its early stages and could go into some interesting directions. Of course, right now it's too early to say, but whatever happens, it'll be great to be along for the ride with Denji. Whether he's a mighty chainsaw devil or a kid who just wants some toast and jam, it's the journey that we'll be following as the story goes on. But what exactly do you think of Denji? And where do you think this journey will take him?